friends, welcome to an episode of Ask Britt Shit, where you ask me things and I answer them usually while consuming alcohol. And this time, friends, yeah, look how badass this plastic ass cup is, filled with some tin cup whiskey that in my light looks like urine. Yeah, I'm kind of on like a tin cup whiskey thing right now. I don't really know why, because whenever I go out I order Jack. It's the weirdest thing. I feel like a dark lord when I drink out of this. I just feel like I'm sitting atop like my throne of bones, looking at all my subjects and waving my bony finger around and pointing at the next person who will succumb to death. You. If I have not answered your question yet, there is a good chance that it has been lost in the abyss, so feel free to send it again through YouTube, through email, through Facebook, through Twitter, whatever, because I am now moving on to a new list of questions. So, yeah, FYI. First question comes from Shast1. Hope I said that right. Who is your favorite Final Fantasy character? Huh. So there are a buttload of great Final Fantasy characters. We all know the best ones come from Final Fantasy IX. So with that, I'm just gonna have to say the entire cast of Final Fantasy IX. No, I know that doesn't suffice. So my favorite character, hands down, is Zidane Tribal from Final Fantasy IX. He is the lead, the main character, and he is just so... Oh, my nose itches. Oh. Anyway, he's so full of life, spunk, and personality, and I see a lot of myself in him, especially now that I'm older and an adult. Ugh. When I first started playing that game, I was 13, and he's 16 in the game, and I developed a huge crush on him. I mean, we're talking like, was a normal crush on him. And I think what I really liked about him was, just like I said, his free spirit. He was just, he talked like how I talk and how I talked back then. And I think for that reason I was really able to relate with him. You know, he wasn't your typical silent, brooding protagonist. Instead, he was just like fun and lighthearted, and he made jokes when he could, and I feel like that's a really hard character to come by in video games. They're usually all super, you know, unless it's like a BioWare game, then they just, or a CD Projekt Red, a Butcher or whatever. But I feel like those kind of characters are hard to come by, and so, yeah, I just really appreciated that about him, and so I'll have to say Zidane Tribal is my favorite Final Fantasy IX character. Our next question comes from MT Shock. I'm not sure if anyone has asked this, but what is your favorite system to collect for? I would have to say the Super Nintendo. I think that's just the console that I have the most nostalgia with, and there's something magical about those little gray carts, right? And so whenever I see those at like garage sales or thrift shops or whatever, I get all sorts of excited, because I feel like that's when I first started gaming and really getting into it. And so whenever I see a game on a Super Nintendo cart, it just reminds me of like my era and my childhood. So it always induces like a warm and fuzzy feeling. And so I'd have to say Super Nintendo. Next to Super Nintendo would have to be PlayStation. I think some of the best RPGs ever were on PlayStation. JRPGs, if you want to get specific. I mean, there's some great ones on Super Nintendo too, but it's PlayStation, because I always love those. I just love the PlayStation in general too. That was like my next, like that's the next console I associate with my childhood, because that's where I started like playing my like true blue JRPGs. I mean, I played Super Mario RPG on Super Nintendo, but I mean, that counts, but I think that was the only one I played on Super Nintendo. All the other ones were on PlayStation. So yeah, Super Nintendo, number 1, PlayStation, number 2. You know, adding on to that, I've been thinking, while Super Nintendo is definitely my favorite system to collect for, I will say that I think Nintendo 64 is tied with PlayStation in terms of collecting. Whenever I see those little other awkward gray cartridges, I'm like, ah! And I'm transferred back to 1998 when, you know, Ocarina of Time came out, and that's when I really started getting hot and heavy with the Nintendo 64. And I feel like the N64 was such a great console. It had so many good games on it. I mean, obviously, you had Zelda Ocarina of Time, you had Majora's Mask, you had Super Mario 64, you had Paper Mario, you had Donkey Kong 64, you had GoldenEye. There was just so many, I feel like, good games, like the Mario Party games first started coming out. It's just Pokemon Snap, if I haven't said that already, but just like, oh, Pokemon Stadium, eh. But anyway, yeah, so Nintendo 64 for me is also a really warm and fuzzy console, so I'll throw that one in there too. Last but certainly not least, I'm not gonna say this right, and I'm just apologizing ahead of time. Arceus035. If you could bring any video game character to life, who will you bring? Me, I would bring Rapide from Tales of Vesperia. I have not played Tales of Vesperia. I own it, but I have not played it, so I apologize if I butchered that name. This is a tricky question because, you know, a big factor into this is, will I bang them? If I could bring the character back, I wanted to be at least be able to bang them. And maybe that's weird, but you know what? You know, we've all had our video game crushes, and it would be cool to say I'm the first person who actually banged a video game character. Unless you are phrasing this question as if you could bring a character who dies in a game back to life. I don't know if this repeat, whatever his name is, character dies in a game, so I'm just gonna assume that you're talking about any character in all the video games I've ever played. If I could manifest them right here and right now, who would it be? That's how I'm gonna answer this question. So yes, bangability is very, very important. So the first guy that comes to mind would be Alistair. You know, Alistair, I know he's of age. I know he, you know, he's an interesting character. I vibe with him very well in Dragon Age Origins. Everyone knows I kind of have a thing for him. And so that's the first guy that comes to mind. The second one is Nathan Drake, because hi, he's Nathan Drake and he's a hot fox. Then there's Link, who I feel like it's Link, and it's like, you know, I like how I'm totally answering this based off the dudes I would bang. That's probably not the way to go about this, but it's the way I'm going about it. Who else? I mean, there's so many Dragon Age and BioWare characters in general that I feel like I could list off all of the men. Garrus, no, that'd be kind of weird. This is a really, really hard one. Oh God, this is a hard one. See, I don't know if it would be worth bringing Link to life, because I don't know how entertaining he would be, because he's not a very entertaining character in terms of he's voiceless and he, you know, doesn't have too much of a personality. So that said, if Link would come with a full-fledged personality and I could ask him questions and he'd give me in-depth answers, I'd have to say Link. This is so fucking hard. Then again, it might be worth bringing in like a character who has magic and superpowers, because then you could like have them use their superpowers in this world. This is a difficult fucking question, dude. Props. You know, I think I'm gonna have to be lame and go with Link. I mean, that's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, you know, franchises of ever. But I'm not satisfied with that answer. I'm just not satisfied with it, because I feel like there's so many other people I'd bring back to life. Or bring to life, I should say. Okay, how's this? I was gonna say Twilight Princess Link, but it depends. Now I'm just making this all sorts of complicated. What Link are you talking about? Ocarina of Time Link, Twilight Princess Link, Skyward Sword Link, Wind Waker Link. Ocarina of Time Link, I think, maybe, because I would like ask him about all of like his adventures in Hyrule Field and Ocarina of Time. Okay, this is too. I'm not getting anywhere with this. So I'm gonna say for now, Link on the fence. I might get back to this next round. I might get back to this question next round, because I really got to stew on this one. I don't think about these answers before I talk about them, but this one I think requires some brainwave activity. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you were somewhat entertained by my weird answers, and if you like what you see, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. That made no sense. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.